That's how it's done, and it doesn't get carried on after this point as well.
It's never that
You over it then? Are you over it then? Oh, you're saying over it with me. Over it with everyone else still. You know I had no control.
Come on, Bob.
Do I think the right people went home? Not really. I don't think so. I don't think Joanna deserved to go home. I think maybe Arabella should have gone home. If not Arabella, then maybe Georgia H and Anton should have gone home. Just because they are not a romantic couple. You can see the cracks in their coupling, especially surrounding the voting and everything else that's taken place afterwards. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, it's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave your comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island All Stars, Season 1, Episode 22 and 23. So Joanna is busy telling anyone with ears to hear that she's told Chris that she's, wanting to explore a connection with somebody else. And it's like you're coming towards the end of the show and you are opening yourselves up to being sort of dumped from the villa because everybody's going to say you're just in a friendship couple. Why would you feel the need to tell everybody that you're not feeling Chris that way? Anyway, Chris pulls Callum for a chat just to say, Joanna has told me that she's interested in getting to know you. I will take a step back and allow you to sort of do your thing. If you to work out, hooray. If you don't, and she wants to come back, that's still okay with me. But what I want to say is you have my blessings to do whatever you feel is appropriate for you. And Callum, personally, I don't think Callum is feeling Joanna the same way. I think he's just humoring her because he doesn't want to be disrespectful. But I don't think there is any romantic feeling there to say, oh, I really like her and I want to pursue her. You have Joanna sort of chatting to Arabella and Georgia H. And it's like, I personally feel like Arabella is enjoying the downfall of Chris. Arabella will be happy with anything that will cause Chris pain because the way they broke up. She still has bad feelings about that. And then you have, Callum go and speak to his partner or in his couple immediately and sort of tell her that this is what Joanna said. She said she's interested in getting to know me. I said I'm still open. And so Jess said, she was okay with it because they've only coupled up for a day. And for me, I think everybody's getting the impression that Joanna is just looking for someone who she feels like, can save her in the villa because even Callum said, because he was asked, you're now very popular. And he said, no, 2 days ago I wasn't, which more or less implies that up until 2 days ago, Joanna wasn't interested in me. Now that she's seen that somebody's interested in me, she's now come back and said she was interested in me. It doesn't make sense. And then I don't know why everybody's feeding the monster that is Anton. That's just my opinion. I don't know why they're feeding his delusions in the sense that he's ecstatic that he's had to experience, the Craig David show. He's ecstatic that he's got to ask Georgia H to be exclusive. And so for them to be told that the hideaway is open and people to nominate him and Georgia H over Sophie and Josh doesn't make sense to me. Because Sophie and Josh are the only couple in the villa at the moment that seems to be really serious about one another. Georgia H is just humoring Anton because nobody else has shown interest. And if somebody else were to show her interest, I wouldn't be surprised if she dumps him. Anyway, they get ready and they go to the hideaway. And Anton is sort of reminiscing over the day's event. And it's like, what is he missing or what is happening that we the viewers are not being shown? Because from what I've seen, there's nothing really to be excited about in regards to that connection with Georgia H. I see her as just using him to stay in the villa. That's just my opinion. So the islanders all go to sleep, and in the morning there is a conversation obviously about what everybody thinks took place in the hideaway. And it's like, I don't think anything took place. One, these people have been on the show before. Two, Georgia H is not feeling Anton the same way he's feeling her. She's humoring him because she wants to be on the show, but I don't think she's feeling him that way. Anyway, all the islanders then go down for debrief, and the main topic was the fact that Joanna is interested in Callum, and that Callum is sort of open to getting to know her but was busy making out in bed with Jess. And it's like, which is it? Do you want to know Joanna or are you just humoring her because you don't want to be disrespectful. And the double standard, to think that everybody was upset with Toby for, recoupling with Georgia S, and yet when they're talking about the fact that Joanna wants to sort of get to know Callum, it's not Callum's fault, he just has to do what he needs to do because he's in the villa. And it's like, well, when Toby needed to do what he needed to do, you all gave him hell and you isolated him. But now because it's Callum, it's okay. Why? What's the difference? Why the double standard? I'm exhausted with the Callum and Joanna triangle with whoever else is involved in it, be it Jess or Chris, because that's all everybody seems to be talking about. And I think Arabella is doing it out of malicious intent. She's encouraging this connection because she wants to hurt Chris. Chris bruised her ego by sort of dropping her on national TV, and so she's going to do anything and everything to sort of cause him the same amount of pain or sort of embarrassment. Callum, I don't know whether he really feels Joanna, or he's just doing it just to while up time. I don't get it. Anyway, the Islanders receive a text message to say that they'll be telling each other their honest opinions. And it's like, here comes the drama, and you're going to see the division in the villa. And so it's interesting that they asked, Toby and Georgia S are the ones to host the event. And so the first question is, which couple do you think is more about the red carpet than it is their relationship? And you can see who is aligned to Callum, because you have the likes of Casey saying, oh, an ex is an ex for a reason. And it's like, Casey, please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. You are just doing what you feel is or likely to keep you in Callum's good books. And I like the fact that the majority picked Joe and Arabella. And the truth is, as Georgia S was saying, that I feel like Joe picking Arabella was a cop-out. I think he didn't want to hurt Tom's ego or feelings. This is why he went for Arabella, because she was single, because Tom was very anxious. I think there was a lot of indication that Joe was going to pick Molly, and so for him not to pick Molly came as a surprise to everyone. So everyone picking him and saying that he's the one who's more there for the red carpet, that does make sense. That makes sense. The next question is, which couple has the least sexual chemistry? And Joanna and Chris got the most votes. It does make sense. She has expressed that she wants to get to know Callum. So if she had sexual chemistry with Chris, why would she be exploring it with somebody else? I don't get it. So I get where everybody's coming from, and it makes sense. And also Anton and Georgia H, that also makes sense. There's no sexual chemistry there. There is someone sort of indulging the other person, and there is someone who's smitten with someone, but the person they're smitten with is not feeling the same. So I get it. Okay, the next question is, which is the one-sided couple? And for me, sadly, I have to defend Chris. Shocking. And I have this great disdain for Casey. I had disdain for him on this season when he played with Cynthia, and now I really don't like him, in the sense that he likes to pile on to people. And for him to be, or to try and be very opinionated about somebody else and their feelings is unacceptable whatsoever, because Joanna is right to feel some type of way, because she and Chris have been on the same page up until the recoupling and whatever else has happened. He has never been in a relationship or had a connection with anyone that was 50-50. All his connections have always been one-sided, because he loves Tom more than he loves any woman that has ever walked through any villa gates. So he needs to sit his butt somewhere and keep quiet. And for Anton to try and be the voice of reason and be upset that Joanna is upset, please take a seat somewhere. I'm not here for that, because we all know and we all can see that his connection is one-sided. Georgia doesn't feel for him the way he feels for her. She accepts that at the start that she didn't feel the same about him as he did about her, and she still doesn't feel that way. She's just saying she feels that way because she wants to stay in the villa. So he needs to sit down and keep quiet, because I'm not buying it, and I hate how he and Casey have decided to attack this girl because she feels some type of way. If it was being targeted towards him, would he feel the same? Would he not be defending his partner? Oh my God, I despise him. So the next question is, which couple is not honest about their feelings? And it makes sense with all the three couples that were picked, because it makes sense that Toby was just there for a good time. Toby was always going to be there for a good time, and I think he needed to explore in order to know that Georgia S was it for him. Georgia S was in her feelings because Toby wanted to explore, and that's why she decided to explore with Callum. Josh and Sophie, it makes sense as well, because Josh, I think, is way more down the rabbit hole than he wants people to believe. I think he's got strong feelings for Sophie, but he just won't say. And then Joe, oh my God, the truth came out, because Joe said yes, there were some people he was interested in, but they were in stronger couples, so he decided to do what he felt was best. And in more or less, he was saying that he liked somebody more than he liked Arabella, but he chose Arabella because she was the only one who was least likely to cause commotion. And I've already said this before, so I'm not surprised. So the last question is, which couple do you think is least compatible? And for me, there are a lot of couples that are least compatible in this villa. That's just my opinion. I think the only compatible couples are Josh and Sophie and Toby and Georgia S, regardless of their mess. Tom and Molly, I'm not sure. But the rest, nah, they're not compatible. I'm sorry. They're not. And sadly for Joanna, in her attempts to sort of explore, she's made herself vulnerable. And she's told the wrong people in the first place. I think of the couple standing up with Maya Jama, Anton and Georgia H should have been the first couple. I think they should have been the first couple standing up. But anyway, all the couples vote, and so the vulnerable couples are Chris and Joanna, Arabella and Joe, Eve and Callum, and you have Jess and Casey. I think it's the other way around with the twins. Anyway, so they are the vulnerable couples, and they have to stand by Maya Jama, and the rest of the islanders have to decide which boy and which girl needs to be dumped from the villa. This is savage, really savage. I think the way Kaz went out was actually way better than this. For someone who's in the least secure couple, Anton sure has a lot to say. He's not in a romantic couple. He's in a romantic couple with himself and his idea of a couple with Georgia H, but Georgia H is not feeling him that way. And so the debates in regards who should stay and who should go, what do I think? Well, Joe sadly shot himself in the foot by choosing not to recouple with the person he was interested in, because had he recoupled with the person that he really liked, I don't think he would have found himself in the position he was in. I think Molly was open to getting to know him because she was always very giggly around him. So sadly, he sort of bought himself a ticket back home from South Africa. And for Joanna didn't make sense. I think people were just being malicious in how they decided to choose her. I think Arabella's friends spoke up for her, so it was a compromise of either, they send Arabella home or they send Joe. And I don't know why they didn't send them as a couple home. And for Anton, given the fact that he said at the fire pit, once we've made a decision, nobody should take this any further. And then he runs over to Joe and say, I had no control. What is it? You are the one who came up with the let's not carry it any further, and then you try and save yourself and look like the good guy by saying, oh, I didn't have any choice. Please keep quiet. We're not here for that. So you have, Joe and Joanna have their exit interview with Maya Jama, and you can tell that they're still sort of rattled in the sense that they don't understand how they've ended up where they are. Obviously, Joe says he's not going to hang around and wait for Arabella. There was nothing romantic there. There were just two people that were just humoring each other while they were waiting for their connection with somebody else. Joanna is still sort of feeling some type of way because she feels that had she stayed, she might have had a chance of developing her connection with Callum. And it's like, maybe that's the reason why you were sent home, because you're trying to sort of interfere with Callum. And then once the interviews are finished, you have the islanders sort of feeling some type of way, because Chris feels angry that you all knew that I was only interested in Joanna. So if you sent her home and kept me, I'm not interested in getting to know anybody else. So why did you keep me? And Toby's trying to sort of rationalize and say, I did tell them that, but nobody listened to me. And it's like, okay. And then for Anton to be upset, to say, oh, Georgia H wasn't on my side. Well, Georgia is saying you weren't on her side and you weren't listening because you sold, your best friend to save whoever else you wanted to save. And so it doesn't make sense, because if he was best friends with Joe and he ran to Joe and said, I had no control, why then did he sell him? Why did he agree with the other group? Which means that Tom and company must have wanted to save. Obviously, Tom wanted to save Casey. Molly might have wanted to save, what's his name, Callum, which left the only other guy. Well, it was Chris, and chances are people wanted to save Chris. So he agreed with the majority and they voted Joe out and then came back and pretended to be innocent. I don't get that. You can see there are a lot of hurt feelings in the villa. Chris is not entertaining anything to do with Arabella, even though he's been told that he now has to recouple with Arabella. So I don't know how that's going to play out. So the islanders get ready for bed, and Chris is still upset because to him it doesn't make sense why people chose to keep him and send Joanna home. And Arabella is, she is feeling like, she's happy to be there. So as long as she stays in the villa, that's it. You have the guys moaning that Chris is not grateful. And it's like, why should he be grateful? Well, he's not grateful that we saved him. He hasn't expressed any gratitude. And it's like, please sit down. Please sit down somewhere. Nobody's got time for that. Nobody's got time for that. Whether or not he is entitled to feel some type of way about what's happened, because you took the person that he was interested in and left him with no one. You all know that he and Arabella don't mix. They're like oil and water. So he's entitled to his feelings. He sleeps downstairs. Arabella sleeps in the bed. Am I surprised? No, because he knows it's only a matter of time before they clash. So he is right to sort of say, I'd rather be in a bed on my own than be in a bed with Arabella. In the morning, people are still feeling some type of way because Chris hasn't expressed his gratitude that they saved him. And it's like, please, let's not make a big deal out of nothing. And you have Toby and Georgia H&S having a conversation. And it turns out that, Anton sold his friend down the river, and yet he ran and told his friend that I couldn't save you. I tried my best, but I didn't have the power. And so it's like, which is it? Anton, I think, has this perception or this idea of how he wants himself to be portrayed. And so this is why he's sort of performing for the viewers, in my opinion. Obviously, everybody's still complaining, oh, Chris isn't grateful. And it's like, leave him alone. He's feeling some type of way. Allow him to feel his feelings, and when he's ready to appreciate you, he will come and appreciate you. But for now, give him room and space. Callum is happy that he's in his couple with Jess, and so he's going to continue to explore that. And it's like, oh well, I really don't feel anyone is in a romantic couple. I know in the exit interview, Joe and Joanna said that Molly and Tom are the strongest couple, but for me, it's still very questionable in the sense that the way they behave around other people is what is concerning to me. I don't know whether anyone in the villa is going to leave the villa having found their one. I don't know. Toby, I would have said yes, but the problem is the way Georgia S sort of performed around the Callum stuff. That makes her intentions towards Toby questionable. That makes it sort of up in the air. That leaves it up in the air because viewers are wondering, has she suddenly developed strong feelings for Toby, or is she just doing it just because she knows she can't go back to Callum? I don't know. Molly receives a text message to say she's going on a date with Tom, and it's like, why are we encouraging this? I don't really see it between Molly and Tom, but hey, it could just be me. Georgia H and Anton had a conversation. I didn't even see the need for that conversation because I think Georgia and Anton are pandering to the viewers. I don't know how they think they can win given all the other couples in the villa. But hey, if that's what they believe, hey, to each their own. You have, Toby and Georgia S having a conversation and obviously just checking in to make sure that they're both okay. I think Toby, it's been a couple of rough days for him because his best friend Kaz has gone and his other friend is not feeling the best at the moment, so it's good that they were checking in. Tom and Molly on their date, they're sort of discussing, apparently Tom is thinking of moving back up north and he's really considering making Molly his girlfriend. And for me, if I remember very well, he didn't move towards his other girl that he left the villa with. But this girlfriend thing conversation is more or less like he's reading from the same playbook. But I might be wrong. I don't know. I think Molly likes him, but I don't know whether she likes him enough to be in a seriously committed relationship with him, although she says she likes him. You have the conversation, they return to the villa, and you have, Tom sort of telling the boys what his plans are. He's planning on moving up north. He sees her becoming his girlfriend. And you can see on Callum's face that he feels some type of way. I think Callum was okay with them getting to know one another in the villa, but I don't think he looked at the long-term plan in the sense that they might actually make it work and move out or move in together as boyfriend and girlfriend. So it will be interesting to see how he feels about that. Molly is ecstatic. She's had a great date. She says this was one of the best dates she's been on, and she tells the girls about Tom thinking of making her his girlfriend, and it's like, well, if that's what the two of you want, then hey, the islanders get ready for the night and they pick up their drinks. So Casey has a conversation with Eve, and they're sort of talking about their connection. And for me, Eve is wasting her breath. Casey is in love with Tom and whatever else. He's not on the show to look for love. He's never been on Love Island to look for love, because he's never put in any effort to show that he's interested in getting to know anyone. So the fact that the girls are always trying their best to sort of please him, it's sad. It's sad. You have Casey go to the fire pit with Tom, and he's telling Tom, obviously Tom is his trusted mate, and he's telling him that he doesn't feel like there's anything there with Eve. And it's like, so the two of you were saved for being a romantic couple when you're actually not, in the sense that you knew, because he actually said after the votes that, oh, I knew I was going to be safe because obviously I had 3 people that I knew would fight for me. And this is what the argument that the two Georges were trying to sort of bring across, that Anton did not sort of have our backs. He was just dragged into whatever the other guys wanted, and that's what he went with. And so by the daybeds, you have Chris still asking, because Chris still feels some type of way that Joanna shouldn't have gone home. And that's the truth, though, because if she went home because people were saying she was open to exploring connections, then Casey should have gone home as well, because Casey is really not in a romantic coupling. So I don't get why he stayed. And in the end, you see Callum, I think Anton sees himself as mediator. He tries to see him as, I am in control, I know what's best, and this, that, and the other. So for him to be offended by the fact that, people are telling him that you didn't have our backs, you sided with the other people, and we were outnumbered, for him to be upset about that doesn't make sense, because that's the truth. That's the truth. If he had sided with his partner and everybody else, then his best friend wouldn't have gone home. So a new bombshell, Adam, walks in. He's from series 2. And all the girls you can see are excited. Apparently he's a boxer and he's Irish. And so all the girls are excited. He greets everyone, and then he asks the girls to accompany him to the mini fire pit. And you can see he's impressed by Arabella. I think everyone is impressed by Arabella's features, but I think with time, just like Chris, they are turned off. And I don't know how long this will last. So a text message then comes through for everyone to gather around the fire pit, and Adam gets to have first pick. Am I surprised by who he chose? No. Nah, because he already said, Arabella, you come across as very posh looking. And so he must have really been studying her. He must have really been sort of wanting to know more about her. And maybe he didn't want to create tension at first pick, which sadly is the reason why Joe found himself on the next flight out of South Africa. Do I think they'll be compatible? Maybe. Anton was scared. Anton, I think, thought he might go for Georgia H. That's why he had his hand over her leg, sort of, I think, being territorial, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 20 and 21. Bye guys.